Hello, my name is Fred Smith and I'm going to show you how to create registrations on Yamaha Arranger keyboards. I'm going to use my keyboard, a Tyros 4, as an example of how to convert one of their styles into a registration. So I've got this example here where I've got the sheet music for World Without Love by Lennon and McCartney that I've printed off Wikiphonia, and I want to create a registration bank that allows me to play it. So when I'm creating a registration from scratch, the first thing I want a blank registration bank. I don't want anything stored in it because that would confuse me. So the way to get a blank registration bank is to turn the keyboard on and hold down the top B key, and Yamaha will tell you that it's initializing the registration, so that when it powers up, I have got a registration memory that's completely blank. If there's no light on, there's nothing in that registration. Now the terminology that Yamaha uses is that one button is a registration. So a registration can store the complete settings for your keyboard, and all 8 buttons are a registration bank, which you can then store in a file. So the first thing that we need when we've got a song that we're doing is we need a style to go with that song. So I've played around with this and I've decided that what I want is of course it's a ballad, and I've decided that 8-beat ballad 2 is going to be a good style for this song. So I load up that particular style and I come and set the tempo that I want. I've decided that tempo of 96 is going to work best for this, and I want to turn on the OTS link because I want to get what Yamaha has put together with this style. So now I've got variation A with the voices that Yamaha have decided go best with variation A. I've got that all set. Now I want to store it in a registration. So I'm going to take variation A and its settings, and I'm going to say memory number 1. So I've stored variation A in registration number 1. Now that I use for my introduction. For the first phrase, what I normally do when I want to go from an introduction to the start of the song is I want a fill played when that happens. So the way I do that is if you memorize a style when the light is flashing, then it's going to provide a fill when it starts. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to take this A with a fill and store it in memory number 2. And then we're going to go back here and I'm going to do the same with the next 3. I'm going to put B in memory number 3. I'm going to put C in memory number 4. And I'm going to put D in registration number 5. And I want an ending. So I'm going to put ending number 1 in memory 6. So now I have transferred Yamaha's OTS of 8-beat ballad 2 to a registration. Now, in order to avoid anything going wrong, you could just leave this here. And if this is all you were going to do, is have that as use the registrations just for this, it will stay here through power-ons and power-ups. But if you want to use different registrations, or if you want to avoid any problems, you want to store this. So we're going to store this registration bank in a file. So we're going to go over to here and we're going to hit the J key, that is the registration key, and it's going to bring up the folders that I have. So I don't have any registrations in user. I have them all on the hard drive. And I'm going to store this particular one in this folder, and I'm going to save it right here. And of course I've got to give it a name. I don't want new bank because I'd have 100 with new bank. I want W. I'm just going to call this WWL because I will know that that's World Without Love, and I'm going to say OK. And now my registration is stored, and if I want to call it up, I can ask for it anytime I want. So we're going to exit out of here. Now the whole reason to have a registration is if I only wanted to play this with the settings that Yamaha has come up with, well, I could do that just from the style and use the OTS. I want to play around with the registrations and see whether I like them. So if I load registration number 1, which was their variation A, and I play it, and I go, I say to myself, well, I can hardly hear the right hand. I need more sound in the right hand. So then I look at the voices that are available, and concert guitar is turned on, but I've got grand and I've got harmonica. So let's try it we'll turn on voice number 2. We'll turn on right 2, and we'll see how that works. Okay. So now when we play it, I say to myself, well, that's not so bad. That's a lot better. So I want to add voice number 2 to this registration. So the way I do it is I always reload registration number 1, the one that I'm working on, because I don't want to forget whether I've made any changes. So this puts it the way it was. I add voice number 2, and then I say memory, registration 1. So now I've stored that change into R1. And of course I can do the same with the rest of all of my registrations. Now, because I've made a change, if I was to go into my registrations that I have and ask for another one, it's going to say, Fred, you changed that registration, so do you want to save the changes? Well, of course I do. So I say yes, and then I have to say save, and I have to specify a name. Of course, I keep the same one, so I say okay, and it says, well, it's already there. Fred, do you want to replace it? Well, of course I do. So you just get used to that, and I can hit those buttons really quickly because I use it all the time. So we'll load our registration back, and then I can start playing with it again. So that's how I create registrations, is by starting with a blank registration bank, which I get by powering on and holding down the top B key. And then I store what I want in registrations, save that onto my hard drive, and then start playing around with it so that I can get it to the point where I can play the song the way I want. That's how to create a registration on a Yamaha Tyros 4.